Welcome, friends and fellow entrepreneurial teachers. I am excited to be joined by Sheryl Roush today. We're going to dive into all kinds of fun stuff with her journey as an entrepreneur and public speaker. But to kick things off, on this podcast, I talk with entrepreneurial teachers who are committed to doing work that matters. And we define an entrepreneur as someone who sees problems worth solving to the greater good and are not satisfied with the current solutions available. And a teacher is simply someone who is passionate about inspiring learning and growth in others, whatever form that may take. Now, Sheryl is not only an entrepreneurial teacher, but also a Toastmaster, which longtime listeners will know is something that I am quite passionate about. And Sheryl is a distinguished Toastmaster, which is a designation that less than 1% of Toastmasters achieve. And not only that, she is also one of 93 accredited speakers, which is Toastmasters' highest professional designation. So, out of the millions of people that have joined Toastmasters over the last 100 years, we're coming up on our 100-year anniversary this year. Only 93 have become accredited speakers. And actually, we were just talking about this. 14 of them have been women up to this point. Yeah. And Cheryl's also going to be the keynote speaker at my district's annual conference this year. And our theme is breaking barriers, which goes perfect with the conversations that I love having on this podcast because that's what successful entrepreneurs and great teachers do. They break barriers and see possibilities where others either can't or won't. So, Sheryl, from what I have learned about you, getting ready for this podcast, it sounds like you started your entrepreneurial journey way back at 16 years old with your first business. But before I ask you about that, I want to hear about water polo. I want to hear more about that breaking barriers story.
Oh my gosh. Back in when I was in high school decades ago, if a woman was good enough to go out for the men's team, then they needed to have an opportunity to do so. Believe it was called Title VIII. And at that particular time, and this was nationally for women, if there was not a women's sport dedicated for it, then the woman could go out for the men's team. And I did because breaking barriers, I wanted to be a swimmer, and both my brothers played water polo. And I thought, well, why can't I? Not seeing that being a woman should be a barrier. I can swim as fast as these other people in the pool. Why can't I go out for it? So I did. And that was my sophomore year, made the junior varsity team because I was as good as them. And I then helped start women coming into the women's swim team, and then was the first female manager of the baseball team. And as we look at it today, Stephanie, today we have women's Olympic water polo. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, a lot of fun with that. So we never know. I don't know if we intentionally set out to break barriers or because we are following our dreams and those stepping stones lead us to what it is that we do. So yeah, water polo. Well, you're a martial artist, so you break boards.
Yeah, yeah, so we do. So I'm curious, where did you get like the chutzpah to do that? I mean, it must have been a very intimidating thing to go play with the boys. I'm sure not everyone was happy about it at that time. So where did that come from? How did you get inspired? Who taught you how to think that way or be willing to take those risks and break a barrier like that?
I have to say it's mom. It's mom. So my mother grew up one of the youngest of 7 kids on the farm in Iowa, and she always had this dream of moving from Iowa to California. See, there's my palm tree. And that was her dream, and she always had this mantra of you can do anything you put your mind to. So I applied that to going out for water polo. I don't think she realized that I was going to be quoting her when I said I'm going out for the team. But they were very supportive of that, and the more difficulty wasn't from the other team's players, it was from my own players because, the jealousy or whatever, but I still stay in touch with a lot of those guys that I was on the same team with back then. And it's interesting how when you grow older, then people kind of have a different perspective of you. It's like, "Oh, wait, that was part of who you are today." Those experiences gave us strength. And perhaps, again, whether it be breaking a barrier in an athletic sport or a mindset that, yes, we can do anything that we want to do, to becoming the youngest female to earn Toastmasters accredited speaker designation, to being a female in male dominated industries as I have, all of those have been breaking barriers. And I haven't done it to break the barrier. It's because I'm compelled to do what I do to serve others and clients and individuals as I still do today. So different things drive us. Definitely you have to listen to your heart and your calling and what do you really want to do. So mom was a great influence in that. And my mother was a ding dong Avon lady. She would go door to door selling perfumes and lipsticks and nail polish and all of that. And I don't know if I do know that that's what really helped forge my entrepreneurial mindset, because if mom can do it and she was having fun with it and the relationships that she created, she very much people service on that. And then she also went into selling between Avon and Amway. She helped put my brothers through college. I put myself through college, but my parents were able to afford to get my brothers into college. So that was pretty good. Thanks to mom and her entrepreneurial and teacher spirit. Yeah.
Yeah, do you have any idea where she got that from?
Well, being on the farm in Iowa, and her mother also, my grandmother Nellie was a fortitude, was perseverance and fortitude, popped out 7 kids in 8 years, and raised the kids through the depression, and just amazing. Amazing. So I think that we learn it from the people around us. And one of the things that I would say, as far as a tip in any type of business that we're in, is surround yourself with cheerleaders, people who are advocates, people who really believe in supporting you in your dream, whatever that dream might be. You want people that push you up, not pull you down, and believe in your dream. Believe in your dreams.
Awesome. All right, so what was that first business at 16 years old? Definitely
Oh
sounds like
my
it was inspired by mom, whatever it was.
Well, it was. And, I've always been driven and creative. So I knew that there was that seed inside of me. But it goes back to even age 5, when I dreamed of being a teacher or an artist. And here it is, 47 years later, that I am a teacher of art. So go figure, again, the stepping stones for that. So at age 5, I was always doing creative projects. I was making candles in my bedroom at night. I love doing hand lettering, all of that. At 13, I was helping the church do their bulletin by doing the hand lettering on that. So that lent it into, at age 16, yes, starting my very first business in silk screening, which was primarily for the Shriners. And I did t-shirts and bumper stickers, and it was so much fun. And then in high school, I followed that into journalism, and I entered a county-wide journalism contest, and I actually placed for news writing. And I thought, okay, there again, stepping stone. Where is this taking me? Where is this taking me? Well, today I'm a 17-time published author. Hello. Back in high school, I was commissioner of PEP, leading the PEP rallies and stuff. Today I do that in sports arenas of 5,000 people, keynote closing big conferences. Stepping stones. Could not have done it, by the way, without Toastmasters. But I put myself through college, got my degree in commercial art, studied photography, fine art, airbrushing. I even went into cake decorating a little bit. And I was hired before graduation to start working in a print shop at a software company. And then the owner's father hired me to become art director, breaking a barrier, the first female and the youngest executive at the computer software company. And people, they ask, well, how did you get to that point to have your own business? Well, I think you have to work for other people to see what solutions are not being solved. What problems are not being solved, and what is it that we need to do? And I saw a different way of doing things, like really taking care of the customers. And that was one of the reasons why I joined Toastmasters, by the way, 37 years ago. And was to become a better boss for my employees and to be a better listener for my clients and helping them with their designs. So then I probably worked for about 3 print shops and a couple of other graphic design businesses, and a stationery store. So those were stepping stones to helping me do what it is that I do. and designing newsletters for companies. Well, then I went on to write 5 books just on designing newsletters, including one for Toastmasters, solid gold newsletter design, which was sold in the Toastmasters catalog for that. So I think that all of these things and stepping stones, and then to have good mentors along the way too. And I remember going to a Chamber of Commerce event in San Diego, and there was a woman I met there by the name of Mary. She invited me, after she listened to me of, well, what is it you do? I own a graphic design studio. And she said, well, what are your greatest challenges? For me, it was, how do I give my employees feedback? And she said, well, you might be interested in this 8-week communication skills series. And tell you what, I'll buy you breakfast. It was at a Mexican restaurant. I'm thinking, hey, huevos rancheros, okay, fine, I'll go and I'll check it out. I walked in the door and I realized I'd found my place. I found my tribe. I knew where I needed to be. I did not know it was called Speechcraft, which is Toastmasters trademark program, pretty much a jump start into learning better listening, thinking, and speaking skills. So from that, it helped me polish up my communication skills, made me better breaking my own personal barriers. My icebreaker, it was ugly. I had 19 ahs and ums, and tears were just flooding down my face. And they're still my members who will tell you they were there. And yes, it was true. Then I had one client who was a Toastmaster, Mary Ellen Drummond, and she was also a professional speaker. She came into my graphic design studio to have me design her book. And so I designed her book and everything, which was then picked up by McGraw-Hill, big publishing. But she was asking me, she says, when are you going to write your book? I go, oh, I don't know, someday. She would not leave my office, and she's shorter than I am, and we're both petite. She would not leave my office until a date was on the calendar. I'm like, what? And I did. I popped out that book in 8 weeks, which was designed after hours of my graphic design studio. And she also encouraged me to join the National Speakers Association, which then I learned the business of speaking, another stepping stone, and a place where I believe when we learn something, we need to have a mindset of learn it as if to teach it, which has helped me today be a speaking coach, a marketing coach, helping people get started in their own speaking businesses. So I joined National Speakers Association as an officer. She brought me in straight away, and I was the newsletter editor for that. And then I also joined the Los Angeles chapter, and I was member of the year of both, because I believe if you're going to be involved in something, give it everything you've got. Don't hold back, and you will receive much more from it than what it is that you give into it. And the same thing for Toastmasters, because as I came up in the leadership ladder and having joined during a Speechcraft series, I'm an advocate for how it's a great recruiting tool for our clubs, as well as to reinvigorate our current members. So I became the district Speechcraft chair and helped with the marketing for that. And then the district newsletter editor, which went on to receive 3 international in the world top 10 newsletter designs. And then I finished, gosh, before I finished my first CTM, we called it Competent Toastmaster back then. Today it would have been CC, so Competent Communicator. I was hired for my very first speaking engagement, right? And I'm like, what? You're going to pay me to have this much fun? Okay, twist my arm. And took an advanced Toastmaster with me, so I got credit in the manuals. Plus, I got a paycheck for it, and I thought, okay, this is fun. And that was for a graduation keynote for a commencement for graduation. And then I started using more of my marketing and design skills, and went on to keynote big women's conferences. And I share this not to brag, but so that people can see how the stepping stones really relate and how we can continue to break our own barriers. As I was hired to speak at women's conferences, then I collected quotations, and that became my Sparkletudes book, which then was the Reader's Digest Choice of the Year one year for books and quotations. And I would open for Marie Osmond, 3,500 people in the audience, Gina Davis, oh goodness, sports arena of 5,000 people. And again, the stepping stones of both Toastmasters and helping me to polish those skills and continually, mindfully breaking barriers, realizing and activating my dream of being an entrepreneurial teacher, of how can I help people solve their problems and inspire them through creative means. Well, then that launched. So the Sparkle Tudes book launched a series, 12 in the series called the Heart Books, and Heart of a Mother, Heart of a Woman, which were featured at Borders bookstores. And they asked me to write Heart of the Holidays. And the most recent, which won the best anthology from the International Book Awards, is the Heart of a Toastmaster book. So there's a great story in that, because in the stepping stone for 135 of our members, many have gone on to write their own books. It even inspired the ABC's Club Toastmasters to start a whole series. They're now on their 8th collection of stories into a book as Toastmasters who write. Amazing. So we need to look at, what are the stepping stones? Where are they leading us to maybe what our dream was as a small child? How can we continue to fulfill that and to push ourselves outside of those mental barriers of, oh, I could never do that. Well, how do you know if you don't give it a go? I don't. That's part of the background.
No, that was fabulous. So my question with all of that, because of course in retrospect, you can follow the pieces. Hindsight is 2020. So how much of that path did you expect or deliberately plan, and how much of it just sort of unfolded as life went on?
Wow, good question. I'd have to say that when I first started speaking in Toastmasters and really polishing up the ahs and the ums and realizing how to be a more effective communicator, I started seeing myself visualizing. Visualizing is a great way to break barriers of our own stagnant mindset. I saw myself speaking in front of larger and larger and larger audiences. So my mind was able to grasp the idea into the bigger thinking of that. And here's my philosophy on that, Stephanie, is that when we do what it is that we do, why not think of one, but serve multitudes with that information? So we could be speaking one-on-one. Your listeners, though, you have already multiplied the expanse, the outreach of this message, because then your listeners will be able to listen to this and in the archives and everywhere that it's posted and on YouTube and watch it. Then they can be re-inspired by it. Why not then? Because if speaking, consulting, training, podcasting is an area of service to help people solve those problems and help inspire people, why not give it a bigger platform for doing that? My mindset then helped me grow from 20 members in a club to 100 people in an audience. And then as I became more of a professional speaker, the audiences got larger. And then I was eligible for the accredited speaker designation as well in order to apply for that. That the larger the audiences, the more fun we have, the greater the energy exchange that we have, the more people that we are serving, the more people that they will reach out to and help inspire and become bigger problem solvers. So why not? Speaking is an extension of our service. So how can we help other people? How can we inspire? How can we be the catalyst to help catapult them into living their own dreams and breaking their own barriers? Ah.
Yeah, no, I 100% on board with everything you said. So how did you get from crying your way through your first icebreaker to doing a second speech and then doing a third and then a 20th and then becoming a DTM and then an accredited speaker and a professional public speaker? It doesn't sound like the typical start. So what got you like to stick around?
Well, as in I had mentioned, make sure to have mentors and people who believe in you, people who are the cheerleaders. Not everyone is going to be that for us. We do, however, learn from everyone, good, bad, or indifferent. We just do. We learn who is really resonating with what it is that we do, who is really going to be the cheerleaders and the advocates for us going forward. And I was blessed to have a few of those in my Toastmaster club. So, for instance, Mary Porter is the woman that I met at the Chamber of Commerce event. I just attended her celebration of life services 2 weeks ago back in San Diego. But it's so like Mary that she would bring people together, that she would cheer us on. And as we shared our stories, there were several members of our original club that we would talk about, oh yeah, and Mary empowered women for us to use our voices before I had ever even heard the word empower. She was right there. She was a cheerleader for us. And by the way, she passed gracefully at 95. May we all be so blessed and to have mentored so many people that they show up in tribute to the difference that we've made in their lives. And I think that having the mentors and the cheerleaders for us really help catapult our success. We also learn, though, from people who don't believe in us. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. We need to believe in our skills, our talents, our unique abilities, and apply it in every way. And I walk with faith. So I believe that I am called where I am meant to go. And in my, gosh, let's see, it's been 35 years of professional international speaking. I have been called to speak in places that were probably not healthy for me to be in. I spoke at the Europa Hotel in Belfast, Northern Ireland during a ceasefire, during their civil unrest. In the hotel that had been bombed several times, I was asked to speak to the survivors at Fairchild Air Force Base in Spokane, Washington, and in Oklahoma City after the bombing. So I believe, again, I mean, those are extreme situations. You think of, oh, motivational speaker, but we need to be real. We need to be authentic and genuine, approachable, personable. We need to bring real world solutions to the problems that we are facing in humanity. So I believe that as speakers, as Toastmasters, as coaches, consultants, trainers, as messengers, regardless of the platform, that we need to give people a sense of hope. And that is what drives me to do what it is that I do. That the books aren't for fame. It's for outreach. It's for helping other people. So that's probably one of the calls to action that I would have for each of our listeners on this, Stephanie, is what are you doing to help people have a sense of hope? How can you be bigger than where you are right now? How can you tap into what your dream was as a little child, that seed was planted in you, or that voice? Have you listened to it, or have you kind of squelched it a little bit? Go back and revisit that, because that would probably be your divine guidance system of helping you activate what your purpose is here in life. Now that's a little bit, spiritual for today, but that's what drives me, is how can I leave the planet a better place for having been here? Boom, mic drop.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember hearing Steve Jobs talking about wanting to make a dent in the universe. And what I was kind of gifted from my mentor as sort of a mission and purpose is to somehow leave it better than you found it. So each little situation and the planet in general, so on the micro and the macro, how can you leave it a little better than you found it? Now
Yeah.
there is a lot of really awesome, deep stuff in there that I'm sure comes from a lifetime of reflections and experiences. So one question I had, again, had this awesome retrospective story of the journey, and each step kind of makes sense. But was there ever a time that you were lost, that you weren't sure what was going to come next, and how did you overcome that?
Oh my gosh, thank you. Wow. Okay. More of the story, because often people see, oh, you're so da 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 da. Yeah, there's always challenges that we've overcome that we learn and gain from that strength of those character building experiences. When I was about 13 years old, I was told by a very close relative, and it was just a conversation out in the sunshine, just the two of us. And this person said, "Well, da 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 da, you'll never amount to anything." It's not so much the comment that was made, it was that I believed it for a couple of years. I went into some very deep, dark depression and had contemplated committing suicide twice. Inside of me was that little seed that says, that's not why you're here. You have things to do. Get with it. So I believe it awoken a warrior spirit in me, like the phoenix rising up out of the ashes. And it's like, okay, then, and the voice I heard was, "Not true for me. I'll show you and I'll show myself." That was probably the biggest barrier I've ever broken in my life, was that. And to realize that it was not about me, it was about that person. It was a projection they had of their own lives. It was their stuff, not mine. Whew. We have to be careful of that, to break the barriers of other people's impressions or their thoughts about themselves that we happen to hear. So from that, it awoke in the warrior spirit. And again, that's why I started my first business at 16. It's like, okay, get with it. I have things to do. That's why I put myself through college. Again, it in compelling me, catapulting me to overcome those challenges. There's also been, financial devastation a couple of times, so it's like, okay, bounced back from that. And it's like, okay. And my father was the one who said that you are not what's in your bank account. My father, also a man of faith. It's like, no, this is what we're doing here for our life's experiences, but that's not who we are. That's not us. It's an experience. So rise above it. He's a master mason. And he said in masonry, we call it, bankruptcy literally means broken bench. It means you may not do that business in that town. You need to do something different. So that was interesting, because then I closed the chapters on that particular business, which was my typesetting business, one of my graphic design studios. And that really slammed the door shut on that for several years. And there was public speaking. There was professional speaking. There was Toastmasters. There was speaking around the world. Again, sometimes if things don't get our attention gently, the door is slammed shut and you find another way. And I think that's part of the entrepreneurial spirit, or for small business, or any of us in any place in our life, that when there's a barrier like that, we get to make decisions. And hopefully they're sound, grounded decisions. And maybe it's the calling to go back into that little seed inside and say, wait a second, okay, so that's not for me. What am I supposed to be doing? And that again was a big mindset shift. Okay, if not this, then this. And I think for entrepreneurs, we often have our businesses are created out of our passions, our hobbies, which means that we already love what it is that we do. So why not do it for more people and do it bigger and bigger service and help people go for their bigger dreams? So why not? I think that every obstacle, every barrier that I've had in my life has made me so much stronger, as well as compassionate to people who have been through that. So I was married to a man in the military. I had never had exposure to that. He was alcoholic, abusive, and threatened to take my life 3 times with a gun. So again, fabulous character building experience, yet I have great compassion for military families. I do. And wrote an anthology on Heart of a Military Woman book with fellow accredited speaker, Toastmaster, retired Master Sergeant, U.S. Air Force, Eldana Lewis Fernandez. So it's like, again, what little or big barriers is it that we're overcoming to continue to do the work that we are meant to do here and to live our purpose? Solving problems, inspiring a sense of hope. And I do believe that I've been gifted these experiences so that I would have greater compassion for others and the barriers that they are working on breaking. Do you find that true in your own life?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There was a lot of that that I resonated with. So, my teenage years were also really rough. I don't know that at least that I can remember, I didn't have an external voice telling me that I wasn't going to amount to anything. That was an internal voice that I fought with a lot. And I
Mhm.
resonate a lot with your story. As a teenager, had a long weekend stay in a facility. It was an interesting experience and barrier to break through. Actually, I have two tattoos, and one of them is a phoenix for exactly the reason you're talking about. Also been through the ups and downs of business. I love that definition of bankruptcy. It just means that that door closed and another one's opened. And it takes a lot to have that perspective. And it sounds like what the thing that struck me the most was you. So for me, I've always had to fight against the internal voices where I have amazing parents that are super supportive. I was blessed to find an amazing community and set of mentors, literally starting at 12 years old, that I think without that, my teenage years would have been even worse. So I had a lot of external that helped lift me up. There's definitely been challenges and stuff, but I've always had a lot of external support where it was the voice in here that I fought with the most. So that it sounds like your experience was, and I could be wrong, but it sounds like, at least now, it's kind of the opposite. There's this internal fortitude that you have that drove you through, and it sounds like it may have even been there at a young age. So I'm not even sure what my question, like, where did that come from? Do you have any?
Well,
It sounds like you had
well,
really supportive parents too.
I'm
But
guessing mom and
yeah.
grandma, women of fortitude and strength and letting me know, and the message was you can do anything you put your mind to.
Yeah. So have
Like
you ever?
anything?
Yeah.
Anything?
Have you ever struggled with imposter syndrome on your
Yes,
journey? Yeah,
yes.
and what has helped you through that experience?
Well, that very first graduation commencement keynote that I gave, that I got a check, and I was going through some records. I keep a log of all my speeches. That's why I know that it's over 3,500 presentations that I've given, and I found a copy of that check. And I think that it's important to keep a copy of something that means, that it was a launching pad for me. And I remember I didn't cash the check for the longest time, and I'm looking, okay, when does have to be cashed by, for the organization, because I didn't think I should be paid for what I did that I would have done for free. That's when, I think, when you're doing what you love to do, that you would do it gratefully and not charge for it. And yet, as a professional speaker, it does mean getting paid for it. But it was quite some time before I cashed that check. I did not think I was worthy. Yeah, I did not think I was worthy. And then the more that I spoke, polished up, found my rhythm, found my message. I realized what I shouldn't be speaking about. Yes, I'm great at goal setting, but I shouldn't be speaking about it. Yes, I'm good at, time management, but that's not my topic, kind of thing. The more that I did things that were not authentic to me, the more that I aligned with what is authentic to me, that imposter syndrome dissipated. And then seeing how long it takes to prepare for an hour keynote. That may be 20 to 30 hours of preparation. So when that check has a comma on it, it's not just for that 1 hour. It is for my lifetime of experience, of real world problem solving, of the message of hope, of doing the homework, of the tailoring, of the customization, of all of those things. Boom, then this is all it costs, based on that. There were stages, though, along the way, though, of raising the fees, that a little imposter syndrome, it's like, and speaking to my largest audience of 5,000 people in a sports arena, and that the following week, keynote closing for this big women in direct sales organization. They were so much fun that, and receiving a standing ovation. And then 4 days later, another for the same group, different people, with my time shortened by half at the last minute. Well, I, as a speakers, we can help you stay on track with your program, or do you want the full program, whatever. And they said, can you shorten your program? Yes, I can. Another standing ovation. And that the meeting planner says, I have no idea how you could have done any better than what you did last week, but you did. Again, pushing ourselves, breaking the barrier, solving the problems, giving people a sense of hope and skills that they can use, and realizing, okay, I am good enough. They have hired me for what I bring, my unique skills, talents, and abilities. I'm going to deliver, and I am bringing the best I can right here, right now.
I love that message. And that might lead us into another question that I had that I wanted to ask. So kind of going back a little ways to the athletic experiences, what from water polo, baseball team manager. Also, we have not brought up yet director of training for the U.S. Olympic Training Center in San Diego. So what have you learned from those experiences as an athlete working with athletes, that's helped you on your entrepreneurial journey or just life journey in general?
Life journey in general, and specific with any of my own athletics, or for coaching 30 of our US Olympic medalists in their public speaking skills, and starting the Speakers Bureau in Chula Vista, California, which is at the southern part of San Diego, is, again, you have to believe in your message. You have to believe in yourself. And then places like Toastmasters is a great place to practice those skills and to gain your confidence. You have to believe that you can do it. I think I probably learned more from the Olympians than they may have learned from me, because of their strict focus, their high level of self-discipline. They had, the ones who were really successful, and I'm thinking of Kelly Ricon Mitchell, who was a silver medalist in the crew. She was a coxsman on the crew. That the visualization, you have to visualize yourself being on the platform receiving the medals. You have to visualize. And I think that, let's go back to Toastmasters for a second, that, if you want to speak on stages of whatever size, get up on a stage and actually have your photo taken. And Jim Tucker from District 5 has gone to the World Championship of Public Speaking 3 times, where I've coached him. It's like, okay, if this is your goal, you get up there, we're going to take photos, so that you could help visualize it. You have to believe in yourself, or it's not a worthy goal. And if it doesn't make you nervous, it's not a big enough goal. You need to do that. Visualizing your success all the way through really helps it. I'm a firm believer in using affirmations too. And I've actually created a big sheet of affirmations. It's 8.5 by 14 of, you read it out loud before you speak, which helps you to overcome the imposter syndrome, and to really believe in yourself, and to get your ego out of the way, so that you do serve your audience, that we are here bringing the best that we can for the best in them. And my goal is always to exceed expectations. Yes, meet their goals and objectives of whatever the meeting planner is requested, and then exceed the expectations. So what I do with my audiences, which has been part of that athletic training to bring me to where I am today, is that I help rekindle the spirit, raise the bar, and create excitement. That's what I do. That's my unique selling proposition. Took me quite some time and some good mentoring in order to really hone in on that. It's like, well, what do I do? And I do that through my speaking, training, coaching, consulting, through the resources, through one-on-one conversations, and serving businesses and organizations, and helping them bring out their brilliance. We all have it. Sometimes, stuff is packed on top of it. We need to unpack it, remember who we are and why we're here.
Awesome. Yeah, all right. So I have a curiosity question about just kind of your experience with working with Olympians. What's something that we would be surprised to know about the training that Olympians go through? Like, I think one thing would be the fact that they get public speaking coaching. It makes sense, but it's probably not something people think about the athletics part of the preparation, but there's a lot
Right.
more. So is there something that we just would not expect that's a part of their training and preparation?
The stories that they would share and through our public speaking training with them, and no, it's not common, by the way, for Olympians to have media training. No, it's not. I also trained and brought a team of 10 Toastmasters with me for the NFL Charger cheerleaders, the cheer and dance squad, that we brought in Speechcraft originally as an 8-week series in helping them just with the entire Toastmaster experience. We then quickly customize it to be media interview skills on steroids. We had real life situations with radio station bigwigs coming in and actually interviewing them. We got a list of what are the questions that they are asked. Same thing with the Olympians. What are the most common questions that you're being asked? Who is your support? All of that. But when the Olympians would tell their stories, you really understood the pain that they went through, excruciating pain, pushing their bodies beyond their limits, breaking any barriers physically, mentally, spiritually that they had in order to bring their best to the games. And then after that you've competed, then what are the community requirements of you? Because everybody wants a piece of you. Well, how do you maintain your balance and still be there for the speaking engagements? And if you're staying in shape for the next 4 years, you continue your training. I was on a swim team with 2 guys that went on to the Olympics and 1 woman who swam the English Channel. And it's like, yeah, it's like, oh, and Greg Louganis, Olympic diver, was on my swim and aquatics team. It's like, okay, watching them, that it's not common discipline, it's uncommon perseverance. And how committed are we to the goals that we set, to the dreams that we imagine? Phew, unfathomable for that level of commitment. And we can apply that every day in our lives. So as a result of the program that we did with the cheerleaders, many went on to become trainers inside of healthcare organizations, teachers, coaches, other physical types of trainers. Amazing, because they got a glimpse of how effective communication would serve them in their lives. Amazing. So it applies to everything in our life. How can we be our own Olympian in breaking through our own mental barriers? Wow, there's a speech.
Yeah, yeah, I know it sounds like a whole nother book. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit more about, the work that you do today, specifically at this point in time where you're at in your journey? And I'd also love to hear kind of selfishly, like what as a professional speaker and speaking coach, what does like a typical week look like for you?
Okay. Well, let's start with what I do for my clients. I effectively align clients with their businesses to their ideal audiences. And I'm very intuitive when it comes to this. And I really listen to what's the message and to help them bring out their authenticity. What I love about that process and working with people in the work that I do is that the light bulbs come on. It's like, oh my gosh, they get it. And then to celebrate with them the successes that they've had and cheering people on to what their dreams are. And the second part of that was, recap that for me, the second
Yeah,
part.
no, I was just curious about like what a typical week looks like. Cause
Oh, typical week.
as an
Okay,
entrepreneur, you end up all over the place. There's
there's
so
no
many different
typical week.
facets. Yeah, I
There's
figured.
no typical week. Yesterday alone, one-on-one coaching, editing a manuscript for a first-time author, which will be beautiful for first-time leaders. She's a high-level executive coach. It's a joy to work with her. And this often happens when we're working on one book, another book comes into the stream of consciousness. So she is working on 2 books simultaneously and coaching with her in how to visualize and storyboard each of the books physically setting them up in 2 areas of her office so that she can, because I worked on more than one book at one time because it kept bubbling up in order to do that. Oh, let's see. Then it may be taking one of my neighbors out for her 78th birthday. And then she's starting a business at 78 and wants, marketing tips on that. Oh, let's see. Being active in my local chamber of commerce. Well, let's say typical day. Playing with the cats. Playing with the cats there. Excuse me. Acknowledging my coworkers. Oh, let's see what else. And it was also prepping for this podcast and realizing what some of our talking points might be. So getting into the space of what could this conversation be. And for me, whenever I do something like this or speaking engagements or coaching clients, I research them in depth. I want to know what makes them tick. I ask a lot of questions. What is their authenticity? And I do visualize. I visualize, as in for today's podcast, who may be the listeners and what value can I impart that would make a difference for them. So a lot of preparation. Tomorrow I'm coaching an entire organization where their members on a Sunday morning, that their members have requested a consult to see what they could do to boost membership and branding in their community, and they're out of Canada. And then there are speaking engagements. So let's see, I'll be speaking in Chicago in a couple of weeks and a couple of different presentations. I'll be working on, and I imagine who's going to be coming to those events, what might their needs be, how can I exceed their expectations, because I bring a lot of sparkle. That's the name of my corporation. So I bring a lot of sparkle to everything that I do, and everything that I do is highly tailored and customized, very personalized. So I get quite serious with the preparation of things so that when I actually deliver it, then I can be lighthearted. It's like, okay, and have a conversation.
All right, so as a productivity nerd, I have to ask how you organize it all. So I don't my system is lots of index cards for keeping all my different projects, cuz as an entrepreneur, again, you got a lot of things going in a lot of directions. So
I
is
love
there a
that.
particular way that you, cuz that was a lot of stuff, and that could turn into a completely cluttered desk very quickly, and notebooks and paper and files lost on your computer. So is there any particular like systems or tips and tricks that you use to keep yourself organized?
Thank you. Over the years, I have learned time, task, and energy management, and they don't really teach that. Time, task, and energy. So I know that my most productive, most creative energy is going to be first thing in the morning. So when I am editing books for clients, then I need to be sharp. It may be a cup of coffee and it's like, okay, focus, 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 and then take a break. It's like, okay, maybe play with the cats, whatever, look outside. My house is on a lake and a golf course. So it's wonderful that I can just look outside, see the deer coming through my backyard. It's like, okay, regenerate. Okay, go back to whatever that it is. I have several different systems that over the years have worked for me. First of all, folders on my laptops that any, like a speaking engagement or a coaching consultant will come in, that they have their own folder. Everything is organized within folders. Within folders, I know exactly where everything is. Yes, there's paper folders, but minimized. Electronic folders, yes. As far as the time management, or let's say event management, I am looking at right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 paper calendars on the wall, color coded, like what you have there, color coded. Yellow is speaking engagements so that they stand out and I get it. Aha. And what topic it is, how long of a presentation, that has its own paper folder, electronic folder for all of the items that are necessary for that particular one. And like for Chicago, I just shipped off 2 boxes of the books and products and USBs that will meet me there at the hotel. So again, you have to look ahead. Well, if I need those then, and if there's a storm, it's snowing right now, then they need to get out there. And what happens if, UPS doesn't pick up or whatever. So yellow is speaking engagements, pink are appointments. Green is fun. Green is fun. And in my past, I have not had enough green on my paper calendars. And then let's see, purple is consulting. And then orange may be special projects that I'm working on. And I can spot across the room, where am I? And then I'll actually do a paper to-do list where I go through and it's like, I have to get things, even though it's in my phone, maybe in my phone, I still need to have like a paper that I can go through and checklist or star or cross out or whatever that it is. And I have those, let's see, right now for 5 weeks based on the presentations that I'm giving. So for tomorrow's consult, okay, this is what I want to do. And I want to create a slide deck to show them exactly, before and afters and what they can do for their marketing and everything. So that's how I stay organized. And then take only one thing at a time. Focus on that one task, project, speaking engagement, event, whatever it is. Only focus on it. Have the other folders out of the working area. And every morning I ask myself, what's the most important thing that I do today? What's that one most important thing? And then do the feared things first. I think that might be Stephen Covey or Brian Tracy, whatever it is that you don't want to do, get it done first thing in the morning so that the rest of the day is a lot easier to handle. Have any tough conversations that you need to have, scheduling, whatever it is. And for me, the morning is the most creative for me, but my clients also know, I don't talk to clients after probably 4 p.m. Not if you want me at my best. Not if you want me at my best. There's exceptions to that where it's online presentations that I'm doing that then I monitor and manage my time, my energy so that, okay, I'm going to go do something that that I'm really resting so that I have the energy later. I'm careful what I eat before I do that. And so there's a lot of just things that I've noticed work best for me for time, task, and energy management.
And do you have any particular systems of reflection? Because that's always like I love the planning and organizing, but then I'm real bad about on the back end slowing down and then saying, all right, what worked, what didn't work, like doing the post mortem on the day and
Yeah.
really starting to figure that stuff out. Do you have any particular systems for that, or is it just being open and observational throughout life?
Let's take one. Let's take a virtual presentation, right? That as we complete to this. So I've already had the chat with the coworkers. No howling, no yelling, no scratching at the door. Okay. So the kitties are down for their nap. They're covered up. They're all snuggled in. They know that when I am complete, I will open the door, turn off the lights, and go play with them, and they may get treats. Okay. So they know that that's the routine. So that helps manage all of that. There's also a sign on my front door that says quiet recording. So my neighbors know what it is that I'm doing so they don't just stop by or, lawn mower, or anything like that. So I find that I have some routines that I also think about after this presentation, taking care of the cats. My local bakery does amazing quiches, and she posted this morning on Facebook that she has a certain kind of quiche, which is my favorite. So I will, I've got hair and makeup done. Hey, I'm going to go out. It's like, let's go to the bakery and let's get some quiche, something to celebrate. Always celebrate first before the post-mortem or the debriefing. Always celebrate what worked. Celebrate what went right. Celebrate how it feels, because that's what you want to continue for the next events that we get an opportunity to do. Yeah. And then I'll look at when this recording is posted, I will watch and listen to it and I'll think, oh, I could have done better with that. Oh, I started a little bit at the very beginning. Okay. Remember to breathe deeper next time and drop the voice. So I'll do my own evaluation, but I'm not tough like I used to be. And that might be because I'm practiced and experienced. I'm not perfect by any means. I can certainly improve by all means. And what one thing can I do differently next time? That's what I would ask myself. What one thing can I improve upon for next time?
Wow, there's a lot of good stuff in there. I'm glad I glad I asked.
You can unpack it later, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm gonna have to go back through this recording with a notebook and take some notes. Awesome. All right. So as we start time, we could keep talking forever and ever. But I'm curious, do you have any particular stories? I always like to ask stories of transformation or positive impacts that you've seen from your work, whether it's the speaking or the coaching or anything that you'd like to share.
There are 3 in addition to the one that I was talking about, the first-time author that's doing 2 books at the same time. That I'm just so happy for her. Well, one is the Toastmaster Club called ABC Toastmasters, and these are 4 of their 8 books that they have created in a series where it's called Spotlight On and then the Art of. And so I actually endorse this one. They have generating energy, grace, gratitude, speaking. All of these are Toastmasters who were originally included in the Heart of a Toastmaster book, who then created their own Toastmasters Club. And now they are releasing their book number 8 next month. That's big. That's big. And then they send me copies of each one. I love that. Oh, let's see. Another one was helping Pat Johnson. So past international president, help her with this handbook. And I designed it and published it and helped her get it printed. And this is making a difference worldwide for Toastmaster training programs inside of corporations.
Yep,
So
I have
that
that one.
Thank you. And it's a beautiful publication. It's the only one of its type. Another one would be Christine. And Christine was about to retire, she tells me. And then she saw me at an event, heard me speak, and she says, "Oh my gosh, I want to be mentored by her." So she found a way to connect with me, and I am now mentoring her. So she went from retirement to leaving a legacy. She is an etiquette expert, teaching beyond common manners, but common sense, including for children, for youth who are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. So she has found her purpose, and I don't think she's even using the R word anymore. So I'm really thrilled with her. She got her first paid speaking engagement. She just did 2 programs on Saturday, for the Mayor's Advisory Youth Council. She's very active. She just got Chamber Ambassador of the I don't think retirement is in her vocabulary anymore. So she's leaving a legacy there. A couple of days ago, I consulted a managing partner of a really large call center. And he was recommended to me by a dear friend who knows what it is that I do. Well, in working with this man, highly skilled, high level caliber consultant, then it was great to work with him on breaking the barriers of a mindset of that he's only a consultant. I said, what if you were to add speaking for a fee to your ideal audiences that you can make a difference with? That then the speaking leads to even larger consulting contracts. Wow. In just 1 hour's time, major transformation. So that's pretty doggone exciting. And again, giving people a sense of hope, aligning people with what's their authenticity, what is it that you're meant to be doing? Because then and helping them with the imposter syndrome is like, well, no, you're skilled. You have the unique skills, talents, and abilities. What are you doing? Look at the problems that you solve for people. How can you be playing bigger and making a bigger impact and helping those and solving real world problems? And they're like, wow. So seeing the light bulbs come on, ah, that's worth its own reward, and I am grateful for the people along my path and those stepping stones who were those cheerleaders for me. So I'm honored that I get to be a cheerleader and advocate, coach, consultant, and friend to people who want to do the same thing. It's like, what's your dream? And then what are the barriers we need to break through in order to help you get to that dream? And my dream is as early as 5 years old that I wanted to be a teacher or an artist. And today I am a teacher called trainer, speaker, coach, consultant, and an artist, graphic design, marketing expert. So yeah.
That's awesome. All right, I got a few wrap up friendly fire questions because they're not very rapid, so I can't call them rapid fire questions. It was the original intention, but so my first question for you is, what should people look for in someone who does what you do? So if someone's looking to hire, let's go with speaking coach, since we kind of have the Toastmasters theme. What should people look for if they're looking to hire a speaking coach?
Whatever you're looking for, whether it be speaking coach or whatever, seek someone who has done or is currently doing that what it is that you want to do. If they haven't done it, they're not a match. Some people can teach it, but have never done it, you don't know. You're missing some of the gaps in there. And then I would say ask people for recommendations, because who, and the question is, who do you know who? Because that's what this managing partner asked of my friend. Who do you know who? I know who, and referred him to me. And then interview those people. Make sure that you resonate with them, because if not, trust your own intuition on that. And then, like what I did with my first speaking mentor, Mary Ellen, I let her know, it's like, gosh, this is what I would like to do. She invited me to shadow her, where I helped her at different events. So if you want to be a speaker, hang out with speakers, work with speakers, be mentored by speakers, offer to help them at their events. We do. We need help. We do. That's what I would say. But work with somebody who has done what it is that you want to do. It's got to be real, got to be authentic.
Excellent. That's really, really good advice. And what's one thing that you would suggest to our listeners, just from all your experiences, that they could apply to their lives today?
I love this song by one of my national speaking colleagues, who's a well-noted lyricist, Jana Stanfield, and she has a song called If I Were Brave. The lyrics are, what would you do today if you were brave? I find myself asking myself that question, and especially when I'm looking at what's the next thing I am meant to be doing, right? How can I be brave with being that? So I would say be brave, be bold, be brilliant. Tap into your own heart. Listen for the message that you believe you are meant to share with the world. And maybe meditate, go in and find that seed from when you were a little child. Yep.
Beautiful. And what's the most valuable lesson you've learned through your entrepreneurial journey, if you had to pick one?
The stepping stones. There are times that when we are experiencing whatever those experiences are, that we don't see the big picture. We don't see that. All we know is what we are experiencing right now. Trust the process, have faith in the journey. And then you'll get to a point where you'll be able to look back and go, oh, that's why that happened. Aha. What can I learn from that? What can I pull from that into this to help somebody else? Because there's the hope, there's the compassion, there's the legacy, there's the purpose. So notice the stepping stones, and believe in yourself, your skills, your talents, and your abilities. Follow your heart.
Beautiful. All right. Now, most important question: how can people connect with you, learn more about what you do?
Oh, thank you. You can go to Sheryl Roush, SherylRoush.com. Pop me an email, Sheryl@SherylRoush.com. Would love to connect with you on LinkedIn as well. And if you'd like a free 15-minute consultation, go to speakandmarketlikeapro.com. And I look forward to helping you align with what you are meant to be doing, breaking those barriers and living your dream.
Awesome. And I look forward to seeing you in about a month at our District 53 annual conference, where you're going to be keynoting. So that's going to be very exciting. So thank you so much for joining me today. This is a wonderful conversation, and keep being you. You're awesome.
Thank you, Stephanie.